In this original podcast series, we take a peek behind the curtain of some of the world's biggest film events and talk to some of the industry leaders and working pros across every department of independent film and television to find out what it's really like. The Hub is a weekly in-depth chat about all things film and television. What movies are featuring at the upcoming GMA Awards ceremony, past winners, premieres, nominees, red carpet gossip, career advice, and insider info to help you better prepare for a career in the film industry. You're listening to The Hub, your weekly fix for all things film and television, and some other stuff. Hosted by Jason Matthewson.
We are live.
Excellent.
And bang on time. I love it when a plan comes together. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome along to The Hub. This is the second live broadcast, but it will be the 12th episode in Season 1. Please welcome Rebekah Louisa Smith from the Film Festival Doctor. Louisa, how are you? Good afternoon, my dear.
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Just waiting for, well, they're all online now, so anyone who is watching in, you can certainly do so via Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram. So we're pretty much everywhere, really. And of course, if you want to chime in on the conversation today, that you can very well do. This is the entire reasoning for this live aspect. So we'd love to hear your questions. Just pop them into the comments, and we'll get them over to Rebekah as soon as we can. So first of all, I want to say thank you so much for coming on. And how's things? How's your corona? How are you coping with the lockdown?
I'm good, thank you. I've actually adapted both myself and my business really well to the lockdown and the situation, because obviously I work from home, whether I be here in UK or in LA, wherever I am. So the system is pretty much the same, just obviously not traveling anywhere besides my house and down the road to get the shopping. But I've adjusted well, and I'm actually been quite busy and really excited about what I've been doing with the company. Actually, I've been doing things that I've wanted to do for a long time with it. Now I've had a chance to do it now because I've had more luxury of time. So I'm very grateful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find that's, I mean, myself as well, and I think everyone really, is now you can sit back and you can huff and puff about how much this sucks. And it does. It really does. And for ourselves, we're not getting the rough end of the stick, thankfully. There's a lot of other folks who are and who have went through much tougher times. But the one thing I will say that there seems to be with this downtime that Corona has provided, it allows certainly a lot of the creatives, myself for sure, to develop ideas and to develop things that I had in the back of my head, or things that I wanted to do and maybe didn't get around to, or just time didn't permit before. And this being one of them. So how would you say that the Corona is affecting your element of the entertainment business? And we will get into that in a minute and much more detail, because I want to talk to you about not just what it is that the Film Festival Doctor does, because quite honestly, as an actor, I've been in the game for a long time. But prior to working with my business partners and setting up the Gold Movie Awards, I had no clue about film festivals. Honestly, I used to look at Venice and Cannes and Oscars and everything else, and maybe even some of the smaller ones. Those are huge. But even the smaller ones, and say, oh, such and such actors, and some of them I knew, they're at such and such festival. How do you get to go to them? How do you go? I don't know. I didn't understand them. So I want to get into that in detail, because I think there are a lot of filmmakers out there who still don't fully understand the film festival as a product, as a thing, and even those who kind of understand that the value of those don't understand how to strategize correctly. That's the key here, correctly strategize and get through, because the strategy that you may use for Venice would be night and day different to Cannes, and night and day different to Tribeca or to something else. Now, of course, they'll have their principles will be rooted in the same area, but there's a lot of things that differ. So I want to ask you, first of all, for any filmmakers out there who have made a movie, it's now done, it's a short, it's a feature, it's a pilot, or whatever it is, they feel it's good enough to get recognition. What would you say to them would be the first steps? And if a client were to come to you and say, hey, Rebekah, I want you guys to strategize for me and to bring me on as a client and to bring my movie to what I think it's a Sundance film. Can you get it there?
Okay, so the first thing for that is that there's actually two areas and two layers to that. So the first thing is that you have to ask yourself and be honest with yourself, being the filmmaker, is do I have a film that festivals will want? So is my film festival viable? And that means in terms of has it been well made? Is the sound strong? Is the acting strong? Is the story groundbreaking and original? Is it interesting? And also, is the length the appropriate length for the film that I'm telling the story about? So those got to come into account. And the best way to kind of, assess that is to get industry kind of feedback from your peers. Obviously, you're going to be quite closely attached to your film, and obviously you've been involved with it for many years, if not, months, and obviously you might not be able to see it objectively. So by getting feedback from an expert in their field like myself, who deals with film festivals every day and knows exactly what film festivals want, we can give you that feedback and say, right, this is the kind of film which Sundance would want, or maybe not Sundance, or the kind of film which, say, the smaller regional festivals in the US would like, or maybe just focus upon the higher end short film festivals, or just focus upon purely the genre film festivals or documentary. There's many angles to that because every film is unique and every filmmaker is bespoke. And also what comes into that too, besides obviously looking at the product inside and out that they've made, is secondly, is what do you want to achieve from the festival circuit with your film? What are your goals? So if your goal is to win awards of any kind of caliber, just want to get recognition, get screenings, awards, then that can be achieved to many different levels. If it's more specific and you want awards that will help you get BAFTA nominated or Oscar qualified, that's a different type of strategy. So there's many different ways to play with. And also with a feature, it's a lot more to juggle because you've got to work around if you want to get a sales agent, distribution, and obviously the same route when it comes to Oscar BAFTA that also needs to be taken into account and how that's going to be integrated into the whole strategy.
And how would you say, I think for the most part, at least, when somebody... Okay, so for anyone out there who has ever made a movie, whether it be short, feature, documentary, any medium, it really doesn't matter. And certainly for those of you who have not, it is a labor of love. It is a selfless task, and it's something that will it'll basically make you reach into the deepest confines of what you got, because it's really, really hard. But I think that a lot of people, if not everyone, when you're done with your thing, you think it's great, right? You think it's wonderful. And you, of course, you want, or you'd at least like to get recognition from the more prestigious festivals, and that being, of course, the Academy and BAFTA and Tribeca and the bigger ones. But these, and I've learned this, I've had a crash course, if you will, doing the GMAs. I've learned that there's something that might do very well at, say, Sundance would not at all do well at BAFTA. No, there's completely different scopes, and a lot of these festivals, they specifically look for certain things. And once you head up into the higher tiers, the Academy, the Oscars, and so on, to even be eligible to get eyes on from someone out of that organization, you have to have a certain criteria met. And with the Oscars, I know it's either you play your movie for a week in a major cinema in Los Angeles, or you get recognized by festivals that are recognized by the Oscars. So how does one understand what my movie is and where would be the best place to send it? And also one thing as well is, I think for you probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in this respect at least, a lot of it would be managing expectations. Because someone sends you a film and they'll go, oh, I think it's going to get an Oscar. You know it's not. Or maybe you know that it is. But you have to manage the expectation of that client. Because if they think they're heading for the Oscars, and maybe you don't delude them of that idea, then when they don't quite get there, they're going to be very disappointed. So how do you sit down with your clients and make them understand where their film is has its strengths, where it's going to do best, and what they can expect from it, and what they can expect from you? Because you are a professional in your game, but you're a human being who does a job. You're not a magician. You can't pull rabbits out of your out of a hat. So
well, my clients can, because he's a magician. So apart from him, then yes.
Yeah.
The way that we do that is in this formula. So we watch the film, which we happily watch complimentary, and then give a general response and say, yes, that's potential for this level of interior festivals. These are kind of like the obstacles, and these are like the positive points. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, we then will do what we call our festival strategy consultancy service. So that is where we look at the film again, look at it more in depth, and then put down in the report, start with like a list of, the strong points about it and how it will appeal to film festival programmers specifically. So when we watch films that are looking to get on the circuit at festivals, we don't look at it from the point of view of, do we like it, is it relevant, or what we think. We have our festival hat on and our festival eyes as to how they would respond. So look at the positive points, in terms of the story is very original and it's been executed really well. It's very original, and the way that it's been crafted is also striking. And the same with the acting. The acting is very strong, and that carries it. That could be an example, generally. Then we look at as well the obstacles. So it could be that there's a bit too many cliches that are in there that festival programmers might not like for their audience. Or there's problems with the sound, problems with some of the performances, not everyone's stellar. There could be things like that. So we give you like the purely like, the good stuff that's going to be helping you in your favor, and the stuff that might be more of a challenge. At the end, we then say, with the above in mind, based upon the festival's audiences and festival programmer taste and the film that you've made, these types of festivals will be most well suited for the film to help you achieve your goals, and also your film will be well received by these types of festivals. So the film and the goals of the client dictate the kind of festivals they want to submit to. Mm-hmm. So it's a careful examination followed by knowing what our festival programmers like and what their audiences tend to like to see at their festival.
Okay, we're just having a little bit of sound issues here. It sounds like someone's riding a motorcycle above your head.
Yeah, it seems to be my neighbours seem to be doing something to their house now. How good timing is that? So,
I know, right?
I can't get the door. I've got the door closed. But
not to worry. I mean, the joys of live radio, or live podcasting, I should say. But not to worry. But yeah, no, I think that's a really good point as well. You have to look at the submissions and your clients as how the festival would look at that, and then advise those clients accordingly. But what do you think now? And I mean, first of all, the film festival circuit is a difficult one anyway. It's always been, it's always been not difficult, I'd say, but maybe you need experience to be able to navigate the different ones, because they all have the things that they are looking for, etc. But now, with this new climate upon us, with Corona now put upon us, I mean, in a natural world, I would have brought you into the studio and we would have done that in person. But now, unfortunately, we can't do that. So, and for the same reasons, film festivals, which essentially is events where you bring a large numbers of people together to celebrate film, TV, or whatever it is, or individuals, that no longer can be a thing either. So how do we get around that now? Or is there a way to get around it? Or is it quite simply going to be a matter of, until we have a vaccine, until this coronavirus is entirely dead and is no longer a threat, maybe we just can't run our events anymore? And as someone who does run an event, I mean, we're planning for it, but we don't know. That's the truth. We don't know.
Yeah, so actually, when this pandemic kicked off, I was at a film festival in San Jose. So I tell you, I could write a whole book on the drama that we had at this festival, and just generally that whole trip. It was something else. But anyway, I was at the Cinecrest Film Festival in San Jose early March, and halfway through they had to reschedule because of the virus. So they rescheduled it for August. And what they're doing right now, festivals, for those that had to reschedule later on in the year, or have to maybe cut the festival short, is that they are doing like different types of versions of their festival to go live. So they're having Plan A, Plan C, Plan D, and then Plan E would be online. Mm-hmm. So festivals that are running between April, May and June are now tend to be moving online. So that is a little bit restrictive, because some festivals can't screen their festival to the whole world. They can be limited to where they live. For example, with Cleveland Film Festival, a great festival, they managed to get it online, thank God, and it was limited to Ohio only, but that's absolutely fine because that's where the audience is, and they managed to get it out there, and it was good. It still managed to happen. Bit of a different scale, different type of obviously event because it was online, but it still happened. So a lot of festivals have had to adapt quite quickly to learning how to make the most of being online for this time period, but also rescheduling and having a different version, many different versions of their festival to do when it actually can happen later on in the year in around the autumn. What they're also doing is finding a way to do social distancing at a film festival. So a lot of them are now, I know this is interesting.
That's an interesting one for me. How does one go about that? I mean,
at a film festival, yeah, sounds impossible, but it's not. What festivals are doing is they're hiring out the big cinemas that they're in the town where the festival's based, for example, the Buffalo Film Festival, and then they're having like a gap in between each seat. So, when it's like a full cinema, it'll be like, me, then space and someone else, space and someone else, etc. So that's going to be interesting. But then it'll work in a way where people will go into cinema not in a group, but, one in, one out, two in, two out kind of thing. So it's a bit more, safer than being a massive group and potentially can spread again.
Yeah, I mean, that's in theory, I guess that sounds like it could work, but I mean, from someone who does run events and with large numbers of people, to get them to do just about anything you'd want them to do is near impossible. And of course, people always want certain parts of festivals, the red carpet, the press walls, the step and repeat walls, all this kind of stuff, the paparazzi. People congregate at those areas in their droves to get onto the red carpet to get their pictures. So to try and have some sort of like organization around that, to me sounds... I don't know. I mean, good luck to them. I hope come January of next we won't be faced with that problem. The world as a whole, I hope, will be mended and back to somewhat normality. But I mean, obviously we keep quite a close eye on our competitors and certain different festivals that run on the run in and the run out of ours. So we'll be seeing how they adapt. But I think it's really interesting. And for anyone out there who's listening or watching for that matter, who have a film and they think, I think that maybe I want to get it to one of these places or one of these festivals that is currently operating or will be in the coming weeks and months. How do they go about that? What is the process to hiring yourself, to hiring your company? Do they go to you first, and then you put a strategy together, and then you approach the festivals that you deem or that you and they together deem the best appropriate fit, or do they have to meet a certain criteria? Do they need to be at least selected at a number before you'll maybe consider them, and then you will get them from a selection to an official nominee or a short or long list or whatever it might be, and then so forth, of course?
Predominantly, it's the former that you described. So people tend to come to me when their film is almost finished or completed, and they want to get it into festivals, but they don't know which ones or what to do with it. So what we do is we come on board and then obviously create their festival strategy for them. We can also do a service as well where we do the submissions, manage the whole project for them, and take care of organising all the materials, the submissions, the pitching the lobby into festival programmers directly, and making sure that the film gets the best results possible. But we do also come on board with films that are having problems on the circuit. For example, we've come on board where some clients of ours have done a lot of submissions, but they've been to the wrong festivals and need to have the right strategy. Or is a point where some of them have had one or two selections, but they've just hit a bit of a bit stalled or not sure what to do next or run out of ideas. So then we come on and then solve those problems by getting them into more festivals of the right kind for their film.
And how would you okay, so let's say there's someone out there who has a film and they're not quite sure yet which festival that they feel that it would be most appropriately fitted for. How would you say that they could tell if their film's a Sundance thing, or if it's a GMA thing, or if it's a BAFTA thing, or if it's a maybe it's a TIFF, or it's a
To be honest, for them to know the answer to that question, they would need to know the circuit and what kind of films TIFF and Sundance, etc., and Venice screen. If they're new to it and they think they've got a film for that because it's a good film, it might not be what they're looking for because it might have some maybe not enough strength in terms of the narrative or the cast or the performances, the length. There could be many reasons. Mm-hmm. But if it is to make it a TIFF or a Sundance film, the question is it for this kind of audience? Mm-hmm. In terms of, like the local Sundance audience, the kind of TIFF audience. It all boils down to programming. It's all about audience taste and personal programmer taste are two of the key factors. And also, for example, if the filmmaker is, for example, from Rhode Island, then if the film is strong enough, then it would be of interest to Rhode Island because they look after, they have a program, filmmakers who are local filmmakers who are from Rhode Island, for example. So there is that angle too. So they've got to think about their heritage and their origins, how that might help as well. But also they need to, first and foremost, it's all about the film. Has it got the ingredients that festivals caliber want? Or is it for another type of festival that will be equally as good for the right audience?
Yeah. And now I guess one of the things that a lot of films out there, especially shorts, are always, well, every project really is faced with one overlying issue, and that usually is money. That always is finance and budgeting. How does one equate that into their budget of their film to understand that they need to have a certain amount set aside to be able to cover the marketing of their film and to be able to cover the film festival circuit, and what for a smaller filmmaker would you say is the most beneficial? Because some people out there would think, do you know what? Do I need to send it to film festival? Is it worth it? Because if I do primarily well, or if I at the very least get selected or on the long list, then there's a good chance that I'm going to have to, with my team, attend said film festival, and they're all over the world. And of course, certainly the smaller festivals, won't provide travel or accommodation or any of that kind of stuff. It's only the bigger ones. And of course, as we said before, you don't get into the bigger ones until you've achieved the smaller ones first. So how does one work that out or work a budget into their film, and what would be a fair estimate to understand, what would be a fair estimate for someone to go, do you know what, I need to have X amount set aside for my festival circuit to cover at least the primary basis, and how much do you think would that be, and how would they go about that?
So it's really important to put aside your funds for your budgets as early as possible. So obviously, ideally in the film finance phase, but if that is, not done at that stage, it doesn't matter. It can be raised, either by personal funds or by, finding other sources of funds through crowdfunding or through other types of investment. That's okay. It can all work out. But I would advise actually to think of 3 different types of budgets. The first budget is your festival submissions budget. So that obviously is paying to spend on fees. So that can range between, ideally, you could do quite a lot of submissions with between £500 and £1,000. We could do that quite a couple of months. Remember to submit though to festivals that aren't going to be having late deadlines that are very expensive. Try and obviously economize by doing regular and early bird because it'll be a much more realistic price.
Yeah.
The other budget is your materials budget. So that's money for DCPs being made, Blu-rays if you need that as a backup, poster, trailer, PR kit, APK, postcards take to festivals, business cards, that kind of thing, hiring a publicist, hiring people like me to come on board and get the film into festivals. Also looking for maybe as well, and that could come to doing like a behind the scenes, get someone to do that. So, so that budget can be big or small. If you want to hire a publicist, that will be larger. Same as hiring me, our prices begin at $598 up until retainer per month. It just depends on what you want. Yeah. So, that obviously varies. And then other things like a trailer, you might have a friend that can do it for free. We might have to go to a post house. It just depends on who your contacts are. Same with a poster, same with marketing materials. So they vary that budget, but the very basic one would be like probably $1,500 to get all the best kind of quality materials and get a good editor to do the trailer. And the third budget is what everybody forgets, which is your traveling budget. So you have to then think about your goals, because if you want to go to festivals and network, you want to make sure that you obviously submit to the right ones and you have money to travel there. Because as you say, you can't rely on festivals to fund you, because it's not feasible. Actually, with a short film, with feature films, they can help to some degree, but not a huge amount. But even with a short, you would have to find the money yourself. 9 times out of 10, 1 or 2 could, but it wouldn't be very many. So when it comes to budgeting for travel, it's not just the plane fare. We can go on a plane again, but it's not just plane fare. It's obviously going to be money for food and drink and accreditation. It's going to be accommodation, Airbnbs or hotels, Uber or Lyft if you're going to America, or hiring a car, or local transport, so tram or train or the tube. And also think about too is with food and drink, that would vary too, because if you're going to go into Tribeca, which will be happening rescheduled for November at some point, that's going to be expensive, because Tribeca is an expensive area, but a wonderful festival, wonderful area of the world. But then going to South Africa would be a lot less, because the economy is different.
And what would you say would be the most, not just feasible festivals, but something that somebody can, because look, okay, with short films, for the most part, short films are like a calling card. They're, anyone who's ever made one knows that they're really hard to finance, because the financiers, for the most part, are not really going to get their money back. It's a calling card to show, hey, look, this is what I can do with 10K. Imagine if I had, 500,000, what I could do, or a couple of million. And a lot of people, I could name a ton that's come through our festival, and you watch these movies and you think, wow, they're just amazing. I mean, a couple of years ago, I think you in fact seen it. We had this movie called Cotton Wool by Nicholas Connor, and I remember watching the film. Now, I personally don't watch a lot of the submissions we get sent. I'm not part of the submissions team, but from time to time, the guys will reach out to me and they'll say, "Hey, look, you gotta watch this one. This." Get your eyes on this one. And I did. I watched Cotton Wool by Nicholas Connor, and not only was the content really adult, really it was real heavy, but amazingly well done, amazingly well shot, really well put together. And then I heard that he shot it on 35mm, so actual film. And then I heard that he was 15 years old. And he attended the, I believe it was the second or third GMAs. And he was 16 years old at the time, so a child. Yet the content was amazing. So for young filmmakers out there, what would you say to them that have this idea, but you know what, they don't have maybe the experience, or they don't have the equipment, but they have got these great ideas and they want to transcribe that to screen? How would they go about that? And is there a support system for them? Is there people they can speak to, like yourself, even for advice before they make their film? Because I think a lot of times as well is if you go into this just going, I'm going to make this movie and then see what happens. That's one way of doing it for sure. But a lot of people tailor what they're making for where it's going to end up. So, for the most part, people making a Sundance film will most likely know that they're going to be approaching Sundance with it. So they make a film of that style, and so forth. I mean, you don't send, Expendables or some big Crash Boom Bang thing there. It's a very different place, and a wonderful place, but a very different place. So how would you say for filmmakers out there is knowing what it is that they're doing, knowing what it is that they plan and where they're planning to do it, and how to go about packaging that film for that particular festival?
So in terms of the first part, obviously, what should somebody that age who is, young, what 15, 16 do? I'd say there'd be several options I'd advise. So first thing, I do agree with the motto of just go out there and do it, just don't hesitate. That I agree with. But before doing that, I would say build up a good, reliable tribe of people. So they could be quite young, but them to maybe get a mentor, someone like myself. I do that kind of thing. But also maybe somebody, if they're at school, that could, guide them and advise them how best to go about making their first film. There's also the Pauline Quirk Academy. They tend to look after filmmakers who are young, from 13 to 16, and they make short films and, guide them on the journey. They've got a good support network there. And also film schools as well. They do have other connections for those who are looking to get starting out in a kind of other types of specialist film schools that are for the young adults. In terms of getting it packaged and out there, then of course it needs that tribe to go to. So the tribe will be consisting of a mentor support network, people who are established in the industry that could help put them in touch with other up and coming like young filmmakers or people who are willing to do helping young filmmaker get onto the ladder and to make their first film, and to write a strong script. Because anybody of a certain caliber who want to come on and help somebody would need it to be showing talent, and that would be starting off with the script. So obviously making sure the script is right and working on getting a good script.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I think that for me anyway, at least, and for most of the people that I've ever worked with, no matter what it is you're doing, whether it's a festival side of things you're looking at a film from, whether it's an actor, postproductive, or a producer, or whatever it is, I firmly believe that it must start with the script. It just has to. I mean, if it doesn't, you're going to be plugging holes all the way through the film, and it's not going to work. I think it really has to start with the script, and I think that nicely takes us on actually to something that you have just launched, and I believe it'll be doing its rollout in, correct me if I'm wrong, September, you said?
That's right.
That is right. Rebekah Film Doctor TV. So let's talk a little bit about that. But before we do, let me just pop it up on the screen so people can get a good idea of what that is, and then we can talk about that. Because I know that is it's a platform through your company, but it's primarily from the education-based side of things. Yeah. So you can educate people on how to do this correctly, and I think that's invaluable. I mean, we have a platform through education ourselves, so I think it's absolutely invaluable. Let me just get that up on the screen, which is boom right there. So so let's tell us about this new platform, what it is, where it's going to be, and when we can see it, and if somebody wants to get involved with it, how do they go about that?
Okay, so Rebekah Film Doctor TV is an idea I had for earlier this year. I wanted to develop it at some point this year, because what it is you're right, it's a digital learning and mentoring platform which is designed to help filmmakers grow and nurture them to become part of a global support network that offers a collaborative kind of platform for filmmakers to support each other. So this kind of all came about through my work with my clients, because a lot of them were wanting, to develop their careers as filmmakers, but didn't know how to do it themselves or who to ask. And they also wanted the type of support that I give them, which is very bespoke and where they feel looked at as an individual, but not feeling like part of a number in a group, shall we say. And also wanted to connect with other filmmakers, but didn't know, kind of where to begin or which festivals to attend, but also just generally how to approach people. So what this platform does, it's a subscription-based online, obviously TV platform, and all the content on there and the videos that we have are designed to educate and the filmmakers and help them learn all areas of the film industry. So it's not limited to just film festivals. It's actually filmmaking as a whole. It's career orientated, like careers mentoring for themselves. One of the good things about it too is that there is fortnightly or bi-monthly webinars with a film industry professional. So I host the webinar each once a fortnight, and with one of our colleagues who we trust and can help our network of filmmakers who are part of the group. And also we offer monthly group mentoring with myself to help the filmmaker on their journeys. And also there's interactive networking with all of our members online. They can share projects in the forum. So it's quite exciting, and I can't wait for it to launch.
That's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Second. Okay, so we've just had a little message from Facebook. Apparently there is some sound issues. The old Facebook police are on to us. But anyone who's watching out there, I've just checked on Twitch and on YouTube and on, I was going to say Tinder, definitely not Tinder, Twitch and YouTube and Twitter. That's it. We are live and everything is A-OK over there. But no. Okay, so Yeah, I think that's an absolutely wonderful, wonderful platform, and it launches this coming September. And for anyone who wants to get involved with that, please do, because I think, this industry has been going for quite a long time, and there's a multitude of ways to get into it. And I think that people have been doing so for quite a while, and they have their own ways of doing things. And I think that people have picked up bad habits over the years. And they're something like this will take what you know and mold that into something with which you can deliver, and you can deliver a product. Because I think when you're approaching any of these places, you have to offer something, because a lot of these people just being talented, just being good, just having a good product, that's not enough. Because the next 9 people in a queue are also talented with a great project. You need to have the ingenuity behind it, and knowing how to market yourself, I think, is absolutely key. And I imagine that would be one of the modules, or one of the areas in which you guys go into. But I'm curious to find out, how would you suggest in today's age, with the abundance of technology and all the various ways that one can get out there, so it's kind of, it's just not acceptable anymore maybe not acceptable, that's not the right word, but there's no excuse, maybe that's a better way to put it. There's no excuse for not being out there, for sitting back in your house going, oh, well, I'm going to wait until Steven Spielberg calls me to do a movie. Well, you'll be waiting. So you got to get out there. So how would you say, in today's age, with all the abundance, as I say, of technology, how would you think is the best way to market yourself as a film professional, as a creative or a filmmaker, in whatever respect that presents itself, whether it's in front of the camera, behind it, or any other part? The
best way is to fully believe in yourself and believe in what you do in your craft, and have the confidence to share that with people who are going to be willing to listen. So obviously the usual things like having a business cards is crucial, but actually keep going to events and keep getting yourself out there and show up and do your thing. And then people will then start to engage with you, and then meet you in person and want to connect for a longer period, and then potentially collaborate. So it's just always showing up, being your true self and being your real self, and knowing your craft and believing in what you do first and foremost.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. I think that honesty is absolutely key here, because as big as this industry is, it's so small at the same time. I mean, everyone seems to know everyone, and once you get to a certain point of that, you're within a number of circles, and people know each other. So if you're going around, saying things that are maybe not as true as they should be, that's going to come out pretty easily. I mean, I won't go into it too much, but I mean, just thinking about Cannes, I mean, in fact, we should be preparing for Cannes right now. In a normal situation, we'll be packing a bag pretty soon, heading for the south of France, which, after being locked up for a couple of weeks now, I'd love to go to the south of France. But last year, very quickly, I ran into this guy who went on to tell me that he was the King Swordsman in Game of Thrones. Now, I know the King Swordsman in Game of Thrones, and it's not him. And then he went on for at least another 20 minutes after that to sell himself and to wonder how he could get in contact with me. And of course, I would have given him a card had he not talked crap for the last 20 minutes. So I think that you gotta definitely be very, very honest, because it is a small industry, and that nicely takes us on to some of the films in which you have. Now, you yourself and your company, you guys have sent a number of films through to us over the last couple of years, and there's been some absolutely wonderful, wonderful work. So bravo for finding some great stuff. And I think you'll agree on this as well, is the one thing that's maybe stood out, maybe more than anything else, from the creating the festival with our team and everything else, is the abundance of great quality that's out there. We're so very used to seeing a small circle of Hollywood elites or British elites, or people who resemble you and I quite a lot. There's not very much diversity, or at least it's certainly getting better. It's for sure getting better, but it's not as good as it should be. But the diversity and the quality that's out there on a global scale that we found is amazing. And I haven't quite figured out yet if I'm super pumped by that, or if I'm intimidated by it. I don't quite know yet. But Yeah, what do you think then? And also, I want to go on now to some of your own projects, some of them that are currently about to go into festival. Or tell us yourself, are they currently in festival or are they about to? And the ones, let's talk about this one first. This one's called Cold Call.
Yeah. So Cold Call is a fantastic short film by a female director based in LA, and the film is obviously all shot in LA. And she's a visionary. She's like a mini Catherine Bigelow. You know, her vision is superb, and her direction is very good. And the lead actor is the wonderful Michael O'Neill. He was in Dallas Buyers Club, TV like Scandal, and lots of stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. He's very recognizable, this chap.
Yes, he's one of those faces, but it's all shot in a car for 8 minutes, and it's where he gets this like unknown caller, and it's these people trying to sell him something, and he just tries to ignore it, but then apparently they have his daughter hostage. So it's a very tense thriller and very good. So that's just about to finish post, and we just started submitting that to a few festivals. That'll be on the circuit later on in the year. The filmmaker's done a short before, and she heard of us through word of mouth, which was great. And they're lovely people to work with, and the film's going to do really well. So that's one of our new ones that we're very proud to have discovered, Catherine and her unique talent.
And where's that one heading for? I mean, where are you guys planning for it to head to? Obviously, at this point, you don't know how well or otherwise it'll do, and fingers crossed for you guys. But where is it you're heading to? And for someone who's maybe made a film of that style or of that nature, which is a drama to say the least, how did you determine that this film should go to wherever it is that you've sent it to?
So we did the strategy from several different angles. So one, she's a female director and female filmmaker, so included of the higher end caliber female focused film festivals. So LA Femmes in there, Detroit She-Town, all those kind of ones that are obviously very prestigious in the Women's Film Festival niche. Also, she's got some festivals she was in previously. She's alumni at certain festivals, so we approached them obviously with her new work. And also we added in there prestigious and reputable regional festivals in the US where she's based. You could travel there. They're all around the US. And they're short film focused festivals because there's more of a chance there. And also a few festivals we included were ones which screen films that have stars in them. Mm-hmm. Short films with stars in. So we included those too. Obviously he's a well-known figure. And also Michael's very supportive with the film. So he would happily, he said, come along to festivals when he was in the town, in LA and where he lives in Alabama, to support the film because he's very proud of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and that nicely takes us on to the next film that you have as well, which looks also absolutely wonderful. It's called Marcus.
Oh, Marcus is a gem. So Marcus started off as a short film, and it did really well on the circuit. It did LA Shorts, it did Sunscreen, it did loads of film festivals back in a couple of years ago. And then that went on to become the feature that we're working on now, called Marcus.
Oh, wow.
The director, J.R. Poley, is incredible. He's a lovely guy and the vision is superb. But that lead actor, his performance, I think, to be honest, it is Oscar worthy. Surprised he's not got a big agent, but he's based in Miami, so he's not LA, so that could be a reason. But whatever, either way, is that he is absolutely phenomenal in the film. And it's a longer feature. It's like an hour 50, but it feels less than that.
Oh, wow.
And the pacing, the acting, everything is brilliant. It's very engaging. And it's a film for the higher end festivals around predominantly the US because it's a US tale. It launched at the Miami Film Festival before they got asked to shut down and reschedule for online. So it did have a live screening in March in its hometown of Miami. But now it'll be going to festivals later on in the year that will be from September onwards. So that's going to festivals that are also Oscar qualifying because it's got that high-end kind of caliber to it. So we send it over to St. Louis Film Festival, the Valley Film Festival, New Orleans, these kind of ones. Is that kind of film for that kind of audience. And the story's also very original, but also very well put together with the editing and the performance.
Sure. And we're coming up to the end now. I can't believe it. It's almost been an hour already. But what, for anyone out there that's watching or listening, is there anything in particular when you're sent well, first of all, let me just ask this. Does the movie need to be complete for you to say, hey, we'll take this on? Or are you willing to look at a treatment or a script or something prior to the film being out of post and essentially ready to screen? That would be the first question. So let's start with that. Do you consider, unfinished work or even unstarted?
Yeah, so we come on board at any stage. We like to get on board early, so we're in the budget early, so we can look at scripts and treatments for sure. But predominantly, people do tend to come to us when the film is at picture lock during the post-production process. So picture lock is a great one for us to assess, because although we know technically it'll just get better, we can see from that if it's the kind of film that festivals are going to want and which type of festivals are going to want to screen it.
Mm-hmm. And then, is there anything then once somebody has the film ready and it's in picture lock and they feel like now's the time to reach out to you guys, is there anything in particular that you look for? Maybe you're like, hey, we really like dramas, or we like thrillers, or we like comedies, or satirical pieces, or stuff that centers looking at shining a light on society or diversity. Is there anything in particular that you look for, and anything in particular that you say, do you know what? If it's this, it's not for us.
No, we look for and come up with anything. So we do shorts, features, fiction, non-fiction, obviously drama, music videos. We tend not to do VR because that's a little bit too emerging and it's hard to watch it because you have to go into like the client's cinema to see it with the glasses on. But also that's a little bit of an emerging area now in film festivals. Some festivals do VR, but not all of them do, so it's a bit limited. So that's more like a case-by-case basis. What we do also love doing is film festival strategies for scripts. That one's a great one. We've got a script now which is started to do the rounds, and it's a fantastic piece of work, immaculately crafted short film script called The Spark, which I adore. But yes, we do those as well. So we do screenplay film festival strategies as well.
Okay, Rebekah, how would people get in contact with you if they wanted to reach out, or if they either have a film ready or a project ready, or they feel like, you know what, listening to your last comments, oh, actually, I got a script that I think is absolutely cracking, or I have a treatment, or I'm in pre-prep for a thing and we got a cast already. Maybe we should speak to Rebekah because we want to get it to Festival X. Maybe we should talk to you about who might be the best casting options or the best marketing options. How would they go about getting in contact with you?
So they can reach me on Rebekah, that's Rebekah at thefilmfestivaldoctor.com. They can look at my website, which is thefilmfestivaldoctor.com. And also I'm on Instagram, which is at RebekahFilmDR, and Twitter at FilmFestDoctor.
Awesome. I'm going to put all of those links and so forth in the description below, so make it nice and easy for people. And of course, your logo's up on the screen there as well. Rebekah, it's been an absolute pleasure. But before we go, I like to always can ask, especially now, in normal times, I would say, hey, what's going on? What you got going on for the rest of the day? But I guess it's a whole bunch of very little, or at least from inside, at least. So what is it when we do get permission to leave our humble abodes? What is it that you're going to be wanting to do first? First
thing I want to do is get to LA because I'm hosting an event there in the summer, so that is the plan. I have an event we do called Visionary Filmmakers Showcase, which is an event at the historic El Cid, an amazing place, and that's where we do screenings each evening once a month of amazing short films and new Q&As of filmmakers. So that I can't wait to get back there and get in my event mode. I'm really excited about that, and also being in LA, and also going to another film festival. No matter how different it might be, I can definitely accommodate no matter what I've got to do, because I just miss them so much.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. They are a lot of fun, and I think they are really beneficial as well. So if you're listening and you're thinking, do you know what, is it worth sending my film to festival? Is it worth that extra cost? Is it worth that time and effort? Because there's a lot of deliverables that needs to be produced, and as you mentioned before, there's all sorts of formats and creating. Oh my gosh, what's it called? The name's just left my head now. DCPs, thank you very much. Just left my head. Creating DCPs, they're quite expensive. They could be £200-300 a pop. So how would you say, and what would be the most beneficial? I mean, obviously, look, if you get nominated for an Oscar or something like that, well, then it's quite obvious what the benefits of that is. But maybe you get, how, and also not just what would it be, but also how would you market upon that? So as I said, if it's the Oscars or a BAFTA or something, well, then that's pretty simple. The media come to you at that point. But if it's, say, even one of the bigger ones, but not the top tier like LFF or BFI or ourselves or, London Shorts or any of the ones that are super good festivals and are growing day by day, how would one take an award from one of those festivals and use that to market themselves to get into the realm of the bigger ones and to show people, hey, do you know what? I done this film. I got X award at that festival. Now, use that as part of the conversation to convince an investor to give you X amount of money for your next project, which you will then work with yourselves again, I would hope. But this time around, you be on a much more a higher pegging trajectory where you'd hope for going to the higher profile festivals. How would one go about marketing themselves with something that maybe the media doesn't initially latch on to, like the Oscars?
The way to market it would be to put the laurel, both visual selection and winner, best of first, for example, on the poster, the trailer, and the signature, the email signature at the bottom, to have the laurels and see what they won is very important. And also having it on their website. So anywhere that's visible to them, to have even on their profile at Instagram, award winner, best of first London Film Festival, BFI London, it's also going to be appealing. And obviously when they're pitching themselves to financiers and having conversations with them, they can have that hook by saying, yeah, I've got my first feature done, or my first short film done, whatever. And, we had the world premiere at BFI London Film Festival. And we've now got, obviously now thinking ahead of planning it to get into other festivals outside of the UK and to have other premieres, have an international premiere, Australian premiere, all that kind of thing. So that would be the best way to use it, is to use those laurels far and wide into every single platform you can.
Absolutely. And the social media as well. Do you think that is beneficial to get the word out there? Because, of course, it's very oversaturated. And it's hard to clamber to the top of this screaming heap of people who all want their voice heard. So do you feel that Facebook and Twitter and all those various ones, are they something that a filmmaker should embrace and figure out the strategies behind that? Or is it better to maybe steer away from especially the platforms that are geared towards more of a social aspect, more of a, saying hey to your mom and dad and your friends, opposed to, a business and marketing platform like LinkedIn, for example?
Yeah. So, for example, if the filmmaker's goals, they're wanting to connect with people, to be taken seriously, then definitely use in the right way and learn how to use in the right way LinkedIn, for example. Maybe not so much Facebook, maybe not so much Twitter, but, it's who they want to connect with, what they want to do with it. So Instagram's great, if they're DOP, having all their work on there, and shows and actresses, for example, is a great way to connect with people. And actually just doing content which shows them at work, which shows them working with their colleagues, which shows them doing what they're doing, then it attracts the right type of clientele, asking the right questions, saying the right posts. But I'd say any platform has got value to it if you know what your goals are, but also learn how to use it, because it will have different strengths or different advantages depending on what you want to achieve.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, one of the last couple of questions before we go, because we're can't believe it, we're almost at an hour already. How would you say, or would you say at all, that the market's changing? Like, what's the next wave? Is it going to be, because as you know, well, certainly maybe not on the indie scale, but on the studio system, we've been inundated with superhero stuff for years. And now it's kind of got to the point where at least to me, they're kind of flogging a dead horse at this point. We've seen a superhero do just about everything. Now, that's a little bit contradictory, because that's a studio system, and only they have the money and the budgets to produce movies of that caliber. You simply can't make a superhero movie for less than millions and millions and millions. So how do you think, or what would you say is the changes? What's going to be the next fad? What's going to be the next thing that festivals are looking for?
I think they're going to want to see a lot of different approaches to how people have dealt with isolation, how people are dealing with adjusting to new realities. There's a lot of scope there that they want to see. And also people have got so much experience now by being in quarantine for 4 or 5 weeks now, or 4 or 5 weeks, how long it is. There's going to be lots of ideas how to express that in different ways. So I think that's going to be quite a hot theme when it comes to festivals next year, for sure, after it's all kind of blown over and has passed.
I think so, yeah. I mean, I was just talking to a couple of friends the other day as well. I think even after we get out of physical lockdown, I think it's going to take us as a people quite a while to get out of the mental lockdown, to get out of that mentality of lockdown. And even when we eventually go back to a film event, whatever it might be, or any event for that matter, I think there's still going to be this mentality of distancing. You know, we're not going to just embrace each other like we used to, and touch and hug and you know, all the things that we used to. And that's kind of sad, I think, because, you know, that's what makes us as human beings. But the one thing I will say is I think that there's a commonality that's come out of this, and that is that I think we're happy, oddly, we're happier people. We're locked up inside, but people seem to be more giving. They seem to be more forthcoming, and they seem to be just nicer to each other. And I hope that maintains itself after we've got out. But I think the mental lockdown is going to take us a while to get over that. And that's going to be something for all events, but specifically ours, to figure out how to get that camaraderie, because that's essentially what a good festival is. Yes, you get the marketing side of things, and the paps are there, and the celebs, and the blah, blah. But it's almost as important, certainly for the upcoming filmmaker and the independent, I'd say, the time at the bar, the time at the mingling areas where you can mingle with other filmmakers. When you're told to go into the theater and sit down and be quiet and listen to a host for an hour, that's great. Wonderful. You're seeing people up on the stage, great. But you can't talk. It's not a time to market yourself and market your product. I think it's those times in the interim. It's those times between. It's when people get to really sell themselves and to meet other individuals. And if that connection is great, then potential work can present itself down the line. And for us to get back to that I think is going to take a little while.
Yeah, it's not overnight, but it's all now about kind of just taking those steps again to gradually build it up. Quality, not quantity, is what it's going to be.
Absolutely. Well, Rebekah, we are just about at the end, and that's nice timing for you. Do a comeback?
Yes, they will be. It has to take them out because they were, after 4 weeks, you have to take them out to breathe and let the hair breathe. So it's back to the normal, the bouncy. But 2 weeks' time, they'll be back. Yeah. So
awesome. I love it. Isn't it kind of ironic? Well, maybe not ironic, maybe the wrong word, but it's funny maybe the things that you miss, the things that you take for granted, just like going to the barber's for a haircut.
Yeah, you do, and I can't wait to get my nails done. Honestly, I really can't. But then that'll all come back eventually, so it won't be forever. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Rebekah, you've been an absolute darling. Thank you so much for coming on. And once again, before we go, we'll put all the links and the various websites and so forth in the description below. And of course, this will be released on all the major platforms, LinkedIn and iTunes and Spotify and Stitcher and all those things. Rebekah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, honey.
Thanks, lovely. Bye.
Take care. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Don't forget to subscribe to The Hub for the latest episodes. You can find us on all your favorite podcast platforms and media. The Hub, your weekly fix of all things film and television, and some other stuff. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter @Jason Mathewson.